Well, for a different viewpoint, let's speak to Knesset member Sharren Haskel of the opposition National Unity Party, who joins us from Parliament this evening. And Sharren, I first have to ask you, some of us have been using this new artificial intelligence program, ChatGPT. I won't reveal how many journalists are using it, but you found a novel use for it today in the Knesset. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, Calev, with your permission, I would like to comment on some of Ohad things and remarks that he said, because some of it is an absolute bluff. Benny Gantz, the head of our party, already a month and a half ago, before tearing our nation into two, has offered to sit down around a table and negotiate. We said constantly, yes, there is a need for a reform in the Israeli judicial system. But instead of reaching out to his hand, they turned their back and they went on a war on the Israeli judicial system. Instead of sitting and negotiating a legislation that's going to have a wide acceptance among Israelis, they decided to just one-sided, completely run over everything and just continue and head out with this extreme legislation. And you do not correct something that's not good with a war or with a revenge over it. And I'm very glad that Netanyahu, just in the last couple of days, has started to calm down those Knesset members and reach a hand out to the president offer.
Well, I just want to clarify, though. Does your party agree that there needs to be a freeze of some kind, even if it's temporary, maybe 60 days more or less, but some kind of freeze on legislation in order to sit down face-to-face with the coalition to discuss these compromises?
Well, yeah, just, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That's not a major time in the scale of time of Israeli history in touching such a fundamental leg of of Israel's democracy. If we can't reach even some kind of negotiation for those 2 weeks that we can discuss around the table in the President's house, then they can continue and try and run over everything and all the values that we cherish here and everything that we've built here in 75 years. But if they truly want to fix things and not just to have their revenge, they should reach out, sit down around a table, and come and negotiate something that's going to fix a lot of the issues that actually exist in the Israeli judicial system.
Let me ask you, Sharren, when you go into a negotiation, you have to have some kind of red lines. Just yesterday, I spoke with the former Supreme Court Justice Dorit Beinish, who said she could see a compromise on the so-called judicial override bill, and make it possible in some form. But for her, changing the selection of judges, changing that committee, giving the government full power over selecting judges, that's a red line. Does your party have any kind of red lines here?
Of course we have red lines. I mean, the goal of Netanyahu in this reform is not really to fix the major issues that we need to address, but it's actually to try and take control of that branch as well. And you need to understand, there's 3 legislative branch, but the Knesset is united and it's like one with the executive one here in Israel. And the legislative branch, the Knesset, is being held by the neck by the government, and it dictates everything that they do in the coalition, all the legislation that comes in. So there isn't really a separation of power between the legislative branch and the executive branch. The only branch that can sort of have that supervision, that oversight, and that fight over power is today the judicial system. And I'm not saying it's perfect. I am saying there is needed a reform there as well. Sometimes they took too much power over it as well, and we can fix it. But trying and take control over the third leg, over the third branch, is actually I believe, will put us more in danger. It will risk our democracy.
Right. If I could just ask on another issue. Today, the opposition, many members did vote with the coalition on this bill stripping citizenship or residency of convicted terrorists that receive funding from the PA. There are some security issues you agree on. But what is your reaction, especially in a party headed by a former chief of staff and defense minister, to the security situation that we find ourselves, that Israel finds itself in during this period of the new government?
So today we've supported those legislation that will keep Israel safer. I mean, this is one of my legislation, to evoke a citizenship of a terrorist that's receiving funds and a paycheck every single month from the Palestinian Authority, where the Palestinian Authority is registering them as, soldiers in captivity. It's legislative that's gonna deter more terrorism. It's a legislation that's gonna keep Israel more secure. And we said from the start, if this government is gonna bring good thing, we'll support it. We're not gonna be on opposition to the state of Israel. But it's important to see, what we've seen today also in Judea and Samaria is sort of the same old double standard of Netanyahu. On the one hand, he enforcing the law towards Jews, but then he's not enforcing the laws towards Arabs. So when he needed to evacuate the Jews from their areas, he did it immediately. But when he tried to do it from on the Arab side, he actually didn't do it.